Hello everyone, this is Just a Dad. I'm going to do a detailed review on this Mr. Coffee 12-cup programmable coffee maker. The model number is BVMC-VMX36WM. It's an older model. It was out in 2013, but it looks really nice. Mr. Coffee's can look kind of plain, but this one just has a little style to it. That red makes it look nice. I like the design of it. It's a little taller design. I like the clock. It's backlit. It's kind of an old school analog, but it's actually a digital clock in there. The coffee pot's a little taller than normal, but like I said, this just looks really nice. So you got two compartments here. This is where you're going to put the water. It's got its own lid, and then this is for the filter basket. It's got a really nice filter basket. It's got that pause brewing, so when you take the coffee pot out, that plunger comes down and stops the brew process. So your coffee pot may have come with this filter. This is Mr. Coffee's way of doing their filter. And so you got this disc here. This is filled with carbon. If it's brand new, you're going to want to rinse it out first to get the carbon dust off. But you simply just slide it in the back. Now this is for the month you install it. You're going to want to put this dial on the month you installed it. That way you know how long it's been in there. You're supposed to change these every 2 months. But the filter goes right here on top of your coffee filter grounds basket. And so when the hot water comes over, it's going to go through the filter first before it gets to the coffee grounds. And the way we know that this filter basket can take water filter is it's got this little WF. That means water filter friendly. So that means this filter basket can take water filters. But you don't have to use this. Some people don't use it. It's a little inconvenient because every time you want to do a pot of coffee, you got to take this off and put it back on. So that's the lid. The back side does have cord storage, which is really nice. Pretty standard cord length. So we're going to brew a pot of coffee, and we're going to put our coffee and water in, and we're going to use the brew now button. Have you ever wondered why coffee pots have a flip up lid? I have. I don't think it's for pouring. I think it's just when you want to fill them up with water, you flip it up, and then it's easier to get the water in. So with the lid flipped up, it's just easy to fill up with water. So a couple more features of this coffee maker. It beeps at you, 3 beeps when it's done brewing the pot of coffee. And it also beeps, so this thing, after it brews its pot of coffee, you can let it sit there. After 2 hours, it's going to shut everything off. It's going to shut the warmer plate off so it doesn't burn your coffee inside the coffee pot. But it also beeps at you when that 2-hour mark is coming to let you know, okay, I'm getting ready to shut the coffee pot off. And then it's going to be cold coffee after that. And it does have the auto pause feature. So you can take this out and grab you a cup of coffee and put it back in. Okay, so it takes a standard coffee filter, 8 to 12 cup, and we're going to put the coffee filter in. Lift that up, and you just put it in there like that. Kind of make it go to the sides. Now, most coffee makers say to use 1 tablespoon of coffee grounds per cup of coffee you're going to brew. So that measures out to be about 3/4 of a cup of coffee, but I like to use a 1/2 cup. That's about the right strength for me. So we're going to pour our coffee in. Now I've got our water. I've got it up to the 12 mark. You're never going to get 12 out at the end because you lose a little bit to steam. So if you want, you can put a little more in. But the water goes in the back. Now you can do it that way, but I like it by closing the lid. You've got this other opening, which is a little easier to pour the water into, a little bigger opening. Okay, we're going to put our coffee pot in there, close that, and then to start the brew process, we're just going to come up here and hit the brew now button. We're going to do regular strength first. So regular strength is like that color of light. And you got a nice little blue light that comes around that. So we're going to time this and do some temperature checks, and see how it tastes. Okay, so we're right at the 4-cup mark, and then we're right at the 4-minute mark. So that's pretty standard. It takes about a minute every cup. And I'm going to show you the auto pause. So say you want to grab a cup of coffee real quick. You can take it out. It's got that plunger that stops the coffee from coming out, and you can pour yourself a quick cup and then put it in. And then it continues to brew. So we're going to take a look at the brew process. So it's doing a pretty good job with the coffee grounds. Okay, so it's beeping at us to let us know it's done. It did 3 little beeps. Okay, so we're at the 10-minute mark, and it's almost up to the 10-cup mark. It might have beeped a little soon, but there's plenty of coffee there to get. I think it's got a little more, it's got a little more to drain out of that filter. Now here's that, I want to explain this Fresh Brew Timer. So when you press this button, it starts a timer. It's so that the next person, so when you grab your cup of coffee and the next person wants to know, well, how long's that been sitting there? And that timer will show them how long it's been sitting there. And that's just gonna time, and then you can count the minutes up to 120 minutes, so up to looks like 2 hours. And if you want to go back to regular time, so you can go back to regular time, but you started the timer, so it's always going to show you how much time that coffee's been sitting there. Okay, so let's grab some coffee, see how it pours. Yeah, the coffee pot pours pretty nice. And we'll check some temperatures. Yeah, that's pretty standard. About 163 I saw. Might be a little cooler than normal. But that's still plenty hot. And it tastes like a pretty good cup of coffee. We're going to try the strong coffee button. And I'm going to time that and see how long that takes. So I'm looking at the coffee grounds. It does kind of get the coffee grounds up kind of high, where they might get into your drink a little bit. Normally the coffee grounds don't come up that high on the filter. Okay, so I've got my water and coffee in. This time we're going to do a strong cup. So I can't press the button first. I've got to come over here and start it. Then I'm going to press the button and it turns to kind of like an orange color. So we're going to time this and see how long it takes. So on the bold setting, I'm at almost 9 cup, almost 10 cup mark. And it's taken about 3 or 4 minutes longer. I'm at about the 13-minute mark. And it's nearing the end of the cycle. It seemed like it just went slower. And there's the beeps to let you know that it's done. So at the end of the brewing cycle, you do get quite a bit of steam that comes up around the lid, and this is kind of hot. Okay, so on this strong brew, we're going to check the temperature. So yeah, it's about the same temperature. And so the coffee grounds didn't come up quite as high in the filter. So it probably wasn't putting the water in there quite as fast enough as with a normal cycle. But we still got even though this thing's beeped at us, it's still got some water to drain through the filter. So this coffee pot has one more button I haven't talked about, which is the clean button. So if you put your vinegar in the back, I'm going to do a separate video on how to clean this coffee pot, but if you put your vinegar in the back where the water goes, and you just come up here and hit the clean button, you don't have to hit any other buttons, it's going to start the cleaning process. And what that is, it's just going to time the vinegar. So it's going to brew a little bit of vinegar and stop, brew a little bit and stop. And then when it's done, you've got to throw the vinegar out and then run about 3 pots of fresh water through it. So that's what the clean button's for. So now the bold taste, it might taste a little stronger. I'm not quite sure. I'm just not the best with coffee taste. but it does take a little bit longer to brew. So I suppose it would taste a little bit stronger. So now let's talk about cleanup. You're just going to lift this up. This filter basket does have a nice handle on each side that you can lift up. It's got that plunger that's going to keep it from dripping on you, and then you can just take this filter and dump it in the trash can. So cleanup is easy. This lid comes off the filter basket. I rinse mine out, and then about every third time I'll throw it in the dishwasher. The only drawback with this coffee pot is you really can't get your hand in there to do some deep cleaning. You have to use a brush. But all three of these items can go in the top rack of the dishwasher. This one is a little tall, but it fits. So again, this is just a dad. This was a detailed review. This coffee pot, they don't make it anymore, but you can still find them. This one was in really good shape. They just look really nice. They are just a little taller than normal, and everything's kind of made a little different, but they just look really nice. And it does brew a pretty nice cup of coffee. If you could, please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.